But whenever it breaks, it should get a pretty decent move in one direction or the other. Obviously, opening below yesterday's range gives us a gap down. So the first order of business is a gap fill. And it looks like the market is instantly on a mission to do that. So we'll be looking for resistance at yesterday's low, 37.60. If we push up and we get resistance there, that is bearish for further downside continuation. Or if we fail to make it to yesterday's low, if we can't fill the gap, that is also bearish. So let's see how the market handles the gap. And then can we start to head back up into yesterday's range? If not, any support above 41 is bullish, but a break is very bearish. Okay, so far it's a gap and go, which is bearish. All right, they're going for the gap fill once again. Can they get to yesterday's low, 37.60.50? So everything feels really bearish here, like a gap and go. I just feel like the ticks need to pull back above the negative 1,000 mark. That wasn't enough of a counter auction to the upside. But this is pretty bearish. Okay, so is this area around 48, which was acting as support a few minutes ago, just below the opening price, does that become resistance now? Which would be bearish? Man, no counter auction at all. Just new sellers continuing to pile on. All right, I'm bearish as long as we remain below the opening price. If they pass back through the opening price once again, so pass back through 37.50, they'll be looking to fill that gap. But as of now, this is bearish. As a gap and go, that is testing the overnight low. Looking for resistance there. If we do get resistance at the overnight low, that is a breakout of balance, which often leads to excess in the direction of the breakout. So it was essentially a 2-day balance. You could expect at least a day of excess. You also have an old gap down at 37.12 that needs backfilling. So we could look for support down there. But obviously first we need to see resistance at the overnight low. All right, new sellers at the low. That's bearish. Okay, so you got a gap and go. You got new sellers at the low, continuing to pile on. This is setting up for a potential trend day down. You also have a breakout of balance. You also have value lower. Let's see how the market reacts at this gap fill. 37.12. More new sellers. Relentless. Won't even let the market pull back. It's often a sign a trend is beginning to form. The market pushes down, builds up some volume, pushes lower, builds up some volume, pushes lower, so on and so forth. It can keep going as long as it keeps going. Element, what needs to happen for me to say trending down? Well, in a literal sense, the B period would have to print, and then the C period would have to break the initial balance low. But bigger picture-wise, I want to see what happens at 37.12. Are there swing traders waiting there for a bounce? Or do we just, get a quick bounce and then continue lower? If we don't find support when we fill the gap, it'll likely keep going all day. All right, well, as a counter narrative to what I just said, they're now getting the pullback, giving sellers a chance to pile on into resistance, which is not quite as bearish as a trend. Okay, so I'm about to throw some stuff at you guys, and it's going to get real confusing, but I'm going to try to keep it as simple as I can, because this is just one of those moments where there's so much opportunity, but it's not going to be easy. Okay? We are at what is called a balance area low. That is a general area where in the past, stronger traders have stepped in to create support for the market. So right now, we're in a very important influx point where either the market is going to get resistance. Either the market is going to get resistance here and then start heading down, in which case that's very, very bearish as a breakout of balance, right? Or if it gets back up into the balance area, well, then this was just what's called a look below and fail, which is literally as equally bullish to the upside as a breakout of balance would be bearish to the downside. So this area here, where we're about to start chopping around and doing battle, doing some two-sided trade, my guess is they're not going to make it easy. They're going to grind and grind and grind and try to fake us out on both sides here. But whichever direction they break, they can get some serious continuation. So it's worth keeping in mind. As long as we remain below the balance area low, the potential for downside continuation is very strong. But if we pull back above there, things can get bullish very quickly. Just like yesterday, literally we just tested that balance area low and then like rocket fuel, we shot straight up. If we pass back through it to the upside today, that could happen again. And right now we just got to let the market play tug of war here, right around those previous lows. You know, right where it played tug of war before. and decide who's going to take charge of this market. Patience will pay. So I hope this helps to like clarify it a little bit in terms of, areas that I'm looking at. Anything below the opening price remains bearish. If we pass through the opening price, we're neutral again because the market will likely try to fill the gap. And then if we can get back above yesterday's low, just rocket fuel to the upside. So bearish down here, neutral in the middle, bullish above. And they're not going to make it easy. Chris, the gap is the distance from the low of yesterday or the close from the low of the day. So gap down from the low of the day, gap up from the high of the previous day. Michael, I know you don't look at this, but we have some single prints and VWAPs above us as resistance. Cool. Also got that balance area low. Anytime you have a balance area low, there's going to be tons of references of previous support and resistance. The market tends to line things up like that. T-Bark, a simple like in exchange for wisdom. Yes, please do push that like button. Got 180 people absorbing wisdom. Only 50 pushing that thumbs up. Mixed stocks are thumbed up. Fully thumbed. Thumb to the max. Element being a choppy past 15 minutes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's going to probably be like this for a while. There's going to be a major tug of war. That's what when I say they're not going to make it easy. Whenever we're at such a pivotal location like this, where whichever way it breaks, it's going to have a big move. It often just chops and chops and chops and just fakes out. Excuse me. As many traders as they can on both sides of the market before they finally make a move. So this may last into the C or D period. Doesn't mean it has to, but it could. I mean, how beautiful would it be if they grind and grind and grind in here, and then they push up and they just fill the gap and then boop, head right back down? Imagine how many longs they could get into the market and then squeeze. Ooh. Beautiful. One thing I'll just give you a heads up. This is not me making a prediction by any means, but just start keeping an eye on the advancers versus decliners here. If it starts to kind of just go sideways, that is a sign that you want to be selling every rip and buying back every dip as the market will continue to trend lower. That's not a prediction I can make ahead of time, but I'm just saying if you start to see that, like it's just going sideways, that is a signal it's going to keep going down. Price will keep going down. All right, poor low increases the odds the market will get a push away and then look for resistance to come back and repair, or it immediately repairs. That is bearish to see. Mr. Knife, did I see anything at 37.48? Nope. So far, all I've seen is we failed to fill the gap, which is a gap and go, which is bearish. We then pushed below the opening price, and we have not passed back up through it since. So the market remains bearish. Moshe, can you explain a bit about the left orange part of volume? Sure. That's the cumulative volume profile. So it's the last 90 days all smushed together. That's where the volume traded. Obviously, it's tapering off the lower we go, as we have not spent a lot of time down here in the last 90 days. Seven-mile reach says NQ and ES both down 2%. Really? Seems like a lot. Yeah, I guess if you include the overnight. Is a big candle. JP Morgan is down 28%? What? Well, it's down 4% from yesterday. That's nothing for these volatile markets. Malcolm, I haven't seen a tick act like this, holding below negative 1,000 for 3 opening bars. Yeah, I've seen it. It's not common, but if it's ever going to happen, it's generally on a gap and go. And that's kind of the signal. If they can get back to the zero line without filling the gap and they get smacked right back down, then you know, oh boy, this is a gap and go. Oh, earnings fell 28%. Yeah, that makes more sense. I was like, Jesus Christ, that's crazy. 30% in a day? Element, bulls are struggling. Bulls are waiting. That's what bulls are doing. They're waiting for the market to go on sale so they can get it on discount. Get your gap fill. This Thursday only. NQ hasn't broken yesterday's lows? Very interesting. NQ nowhere near as bearish as the ES. Still inside the previous day's range. Obviously, if it pushes back below that low from yesterday, 11,521, comes back up and finds resistance, that will be bearish for continuation to the downside. But it hasn't actually happened yet. Element locked in a 10% account gain. Well, that's an awesome day, man. I would highly suggest locking that in. Have a few drinks with lunch. You earned it. Also, don't take so much freaking risk next time. There's no way you made 10% risking too. Not unless you just crushed a perfect entry. All right, market pushing up into some resistance. So we're looking for these ticks to get smacked back down. Take that, you filthy buyers. You're too early. Get a hold of yourself, man. What are you even fighting for? I say, good man, what are you even fighting for? Bow bow? No, I just trade my own personal account. I don't prop trade. Don't put your rules on me. So now those buyers are back. Please, sir. May I have another? I say, good man, if you insist. J-Rod, do you teach this in a course? I do. If you look at the description below the YouTube video, that first link you see with the little brain and the strong arm, that is the e-course. Teaches you everything I look at in terms of market profile in the two-way auction. Oh, please, sir, just one more. Of course. Another. I say, why are you buying? John Lash, is that the new Hobbit TV show? Yeah, I got to go check that out. That is acceptable non-market related comment. All right, so I'm going to change the banner just to remind everybody that the live stream's over soon, but I am still bearish. Don't misread that. Waiting for these ticks to get slapped again. Mark, breadth sucks so far to buy, and it's not just the breadth, it's the advancers versus decliners. Trust me, if this thing just goes sideways all day, the market will just keep selling off. Every rip will just get smacked back down until they reverse and start to break higher on the advancers versus decliners. John Lash, I'm skeptically optimistic. Yeah, that's the way to be. It's a lot of pressure, man. Okay, so as we're getting ready to get that sweet C period to print, I would say, as I mentioned before, the NQ is not quite as bearish as the ES. It is bearish with the initial balance to the downside and the value area butting right up against the low of the day. That increases the odds that you need some more excess to the downside. And like I said, if they push below yesterday's low and then they find resistance, that's the trigger for another push lower. So look for that resistance at yesterday's low on the NQ. As far as a move to the upside, I know it's a long way away, but I wouldn't look to buy on the NQ. You could buy above the halfback. So if you could push above here, come back down, find some support, you could maybe buy up there. ES, it would be the opening price. But otherwise, the trend or the momentum is to the downside. And it's never wise to fight the momentum, in my humble opinion. Better to go with it. With that, I bid you all farewell. Yep, same point. Still bearish below the opening price on the ES. Good luck, Godspeed, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.